California's dream is collapsing in real time. Houses no one can buy, apartments no one can afford, cities spending billions on revitalization projects that somehow made everything worse. You've heard the headlines say, the market's stabilizing. You've heard politicians insist, the worst is behind us. But what if that's the biggest lie in California real estate? What if this stability isn't recovery? It's the calm before a much deeper storm. Because behind the glossy press releases, behind the green housing initiatives and density bonuses, the real story is darker. Developers are over-leveraged, buyers are exhausted, local governments are bleeding cash, and millions of Californians from San Diego to Redding are wondering how they'll survive another year in a state where a one-bedroom apartment costs more than most Americans' mortgages. Let's be honest, the California housing market isn't just broken, it's collapsing in slow motion. Every policy band-aid has only delayed the inevitable. Behind every shiny luxury condo ad, there's a family packing boxes. Behind every affordable housing announcement, there's fine print saying only 10% of those units will ever be priced for working people. This is the story Sacramento won't say out loud. In this video, we're pulling back the curtain on what's really happening. The manipulated numbers, the developer games, and the massive disconnect between the political fantasy and the California that actually exists. By the end, you'll see, the housing market here isn't just bad. It's 100 times worse than you think. Every headline says, home prices are stabilizing. But step onto any block in San Francisco, Los Angeles, or San Diego. It doesn't feel stable. It feels hollow. The median home price just crossed $900,000 statewide. In the Bay Area, it's over $1.3 million. And even in places once considered affordable, like Bakersfield or Stockton, prices have jumped by over 40% since 2019. Yet listings are piling up. Homes now sit for 60, 90, even 120 days without a single offer. The market's frozen, not because demand is strong, but because everyone's scared to make the next move. Realtors whisper about price cuts. Sellers chase the ghost of 2021. Buyers are walking away from deals after realizing their dream home comes with a nightmare mortgage. Developers bet on endless demand from global investors, and lost. That $600,000 starter home costs $4,700 a month before taxes and insurance. For young families, that's not a home. That's financial quicksand. And the dirty secret? This isn't a supply problem, it's a pricing illusion built on years of speculation. Let's look at the numbers, the kind the headlines bury. California's housing inventory jumped 34% year over year this summer. That's not a healthy correction, that's a red flag. Vacancy rates in luxury towers across Los Angeles and the Bay Area have doubled since 2022. In downtown LA, some of the newest high-rises have entire floors sitting empty, their lights off every night. In San Francisco, a third of new condos in certain districts remain unsold. These aren't isolated data points. They're a sign of systemic imbalance. At the same time, rents in downtown cores are down 10–15%, while rents in the outer suburbs keep rising. Families are fleeing cities for cheaper areas, but the cheaper areas aren't cheap anymore. Inland counties like Riverside and San Bernardino, once havens for working families, are now pricing people out too. The California housing production boom that politicians brag about? It's smoke and mirrors. When you dig into the data, over 60% of new units are luxury or high-end developments that less than 20% of Californians can afford. We're not fixing the shortage, we're feeding the bubble. We're building homes for investors, not residents. Meanwhile, real wages haven't moved in nearly a decade. Teachers, nurses, firefighters, the people who actually keep this state running, can't afford to live where they work. In Los Angeles, the average teacher now spends over 50% of their income on rent. In the Bay Area, even tech employees are moving inland or out of state. Families are watching their rent double while their savings disappear. Affordable housing has become a cruel joke. In San Francisco, the cutoff for an affordable two-bedroom is over $120,000 a year in income. And this part? Nobody's talking about it. Tens of thousands of homes are being kept off the market by hedge funds and private equity firms. Institutional landlords like Blackstone and Invitation Homes own entire neighborhoods, waiting for prices to climb before renting them out again. Drive through parts of Orange County or the Bay Area late at night. You'll see whole subdivisions with dark windows. Empty. Waiting. Speculative assets in the middle of a housing crisis. Meanwhile, tents line the freeway exits. Families sleep in RVs behind shopping centers. Kids do homework under streetlights in parking lots because they have nowhere else to go. California didn't lose affordability overnight. It was sold off, parcel by parcel, policy by policy. And the damage doesn't stop at the city limits. Small towns across the Central Valley and up the coast are being swallowed by this wave. Investors are buying farmland, rezoning it for future residential growth, and sitting on it for years while locals can't find anywhere to live. Communities that used to be tight-knit, where teachers lived next door to students, are being hollowed out. This isn't just an economic issue, it's a cultural unraveling. The California identity, that promise of sunshine, opportunity, and a backyard to call your own, is vanishing. So what happens next? Economists are split, but the writing's on the wall. Mortgage rates aren't dropping anytime soon. Developers are canceling projects mid-construction. Local governments are panicking as property tax revenue falls and bond debt rises. Expect more affordable housing bonds, more revitalization districts, and more photo ops with gold shovel ceremonies that never translate to actual homes for working people. And here's where it gets darker. The foreclosure risk. Homeowners who bought during the pandemic at peak prices are now realizing they can't refinance, can't sell, and can't keep up. If rates stay high through 2026, we could see a slow-motion foreclosure wave that dwarfs the 2008 crisis in some regions. Not overnight, but neighborhood by neighborhood. Only this time the banks won't be the ones holding the bag. Wall Street will. And they'll turn foreclosures into rentals, tightening their grip on the state's housing supply even more. This isn't a housing market anymore. It's a survival market. Here's the truth. California doesn't have a housing shortage. It has an affordability nightmare created by decades of policy failure, political cowardice, and corporate greed. But there's still a path forward, if we're willing to face reality. We could repurpose empty office buildings into mixed-income housing. We could enforce corporate vacancy taxes and penalize companies that sit on empty inventory. We could streamline zoning laws to make real middle-class housing possible again, not just luxury condos with affordable units tacked on for PR. And we could start measuring success not by how many units get approved, but by how many Californians can actually afford to live in them. Because if California wants to stay livable, it can't keep building castles for investors while its people sleep on the curb. The headlines say stabilizing. The reality says collapse. Every statistic the state celebrates, every record in construction, every price stabilization chart, hides the truth. Ordinary Californians are being priced out of their own home state. And the longer we pretend it's fine, the harder California will fall. This isn't fear-mongering, it's math. And unless something changes, the California dream won't just fade, it'll be foreclosed.